So it was my birthday a couple of weeks back, and some really nice people got me some really nice books. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what those books were, and also, I got from my workplace a Barnes and Noble voucher or gift card, whatever you call it, $200 for working for the company for 5 years. So I'm actually going to spend that $200 in this video, and then at the end I'm just going to do one big book haul, and it's going to be a lot of books, but I'm going to tell you all about them. Can't wait to do it, man. Also, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the most beautiful book that I own. This thing is gorgeous, man. There's so much to get to. All right, let's go. I'm going to take you with me to Barnes & Noble. We're going to start picking out some books, and then I'll show you everything that I've received. So I headed to Barnes & Noble, where online it said that they open at 9 a.m. Nope, they open at 10 a.m. in actuality, which... very annoying, not ideal, but anyway, it was fine. I headed over to Panera Bread, which was across the street. I got a cappuccino and some sort of like cinnamon thing, and then I headed back over at 10 a.m. and yes, it was open this time. It felt really great actually being inside a bookstore. There's really nowhere that feels quite as good or smells quite as nice as a bookstore or a library. As much as I can, I'm just going to try and shop at Barnes & Noble, and also importantly like independent bookstores as well, because not only are you getting books, but you're also getting a nice little day out as well. When I was there, I met this cool guy who, his name was Jacob Cherry, and he's an author. He told me that he writes splatterpunk novels, which admittedly is not, that's not my kind of genre. I love horror books, but not necessarily, a massive splatterpunk fan. Like I say, nice guy, and it's just nice to be around creatives, ain't it? And people who love books. So if you like splatterpunk and you'd like to support an independent author, maybe check him out. His name's Jacob Cherry. That's a cool name as well for an author. Anyway, I'm back now, and I got a bag of books. Let's get into them. $200 will get you some books, man. Like they're roughly about what, $20 each at Barnes and Noble. So I think I might have, I think I have got 10 books to show you from Barnes and Noble, as well as the books that I received from people that were giving me gifts for my birthday. All right, so too many books, really. I don't know, something bad's about to happen to my shelves, I know that. So what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I think I'm going to show you all of the books that I received as gifts for my 40th birthday from like friends and family and stuff. And then I'll show you what I purchased at Barnes & Noble. And then we'll be able to see if there's any difference between these two collections. So the first book that was bought for me is The Greatest Works of Edgar Allan Poe. I really like that cover. That's nice, ain't it? My sister bought this for me. It's very nice of her. She knows I'm a fan of Edgar Allan Poe. So much so that my dog is named Poe. So this is a really great gift. Big old collection of creepy short stories. And also, look at that. Nice gilded edges too. I love little details like that. Even though on my shelf it's going to look like that, which still cool, to be honest. Still cool, ain't it? I love little things like this. The next book that I received as a gift was The Body by Stephen King. This is the book that Stand By Me, the movie Stand By Me, I think it came out in the 80s, is based on. It's about a group of kids that go looking for a dead body, but I think really it's also about friendship and growing up and all the weird emotional stuff that hits when you're right on the edge of your childhood ending. I have read about somewhere between 35 to 40 Stephen King books now. This isn't one of them. I've never read this. So yeah, great gift. Another gift that I was bought was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. So this is a contemporary story about a woman working the night shift at an aquarium who forms a bond with this highly intelligent octopus, And I think in this story, there is some grief and loneliness in the mix, but also sounds as though it's a bit of a missing person mystery too. And this edition, again, is those painted edges. It makes all the difference, these kind of things, you know? Mate, I can't wait to show you one of the books that I'm about to tell you about it in a minute. And it's got this kind of thing going on, and lots of other things going on as well. I can't. The next book that I received, and by the way, if you're going, Coy, you don't half get a lot of books for your birthday, it's basically all I like. You know, I think if you love books, you are the easiest person in the world to buy for, because you can just say, oh, I like this book, I like that book. People can just say to you, what book do you want for your birthday? You can get me Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingslover if you want. Sorry, not Kingslover, Kingsolver. This is a modern retelling of David Copperfield. It's set in Appalachia, I think, following a boy that's growing up in poverty and addiction and a failed system where he sort of slipped through the cracks. Admittedly, I have never read David Copperfield yet, so I'm probably going to need to read that first. Luckily, I do have that as one of my classics up at the top there, so I'll probably have to read that first, but it seemed like everybody was reading this a couple of years ago, so I'm just happy that I've got a copy of it, and yeah, can't wait to get stuck into this one. Another book that I received is Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. So this is something that I'm reading this month. It actually came up on the wheel when, I spin the wheel, the fiction roulette, to decide what I'm going to be reading each month. This came up this month. So I'm really excited for this one. The writers are J.A.J. Minton, which I guess otherwise known as the creators behind Talking Story, the BookTube channel. Yeah, they've released a book. And so this is a first contact cosmic horror where a ship that's searching for a sunken submarine stumbles upon something far more ancient and sinister that's lurking under the depths. It's kind of like a cosmic horror. So I'm a big fan of Talking Story, the BookTube channel. I'm really happy that I received this book for my birthday. And also, I'm really happy that I get to read it this month. Fantastic cover, ain't it? And also, I like this little tagline, an apocalypse in 5 acts. Whoever came up with that, hey, congratulations. Great tagline. The next book that I received is Monstrilio. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think you are supposed to, in this case, pronounce the L, although that's not always the case in all Spanish words. So it could be Monstrillo, but I think it's Monstrilio in this case, and it's by Gerardo Samano Cordova. This is about a mother who loses her 11-year-old son. She's absolutely wrecked by grief, understandably, and so she does something desperate. She cuts out a piece of her child's lung, and she basically raises it like a pet, because there's this old folk tale whispering in her ear that if she does this, if she performs this ritual, then it might bring her son back from the dead. So it sounds crazy, but, understandable under the circumstances, a desperate, grieving mother. And somehow it works. And the lung starts to grow into this creepy, flesh-eating little creature that hides in a crumbling house in Mexico City. And over time, it starts to look and act like her son. But the thing is, no matter how much love and care the family all pours into it, there's still something dark and dangerous at the core of this creature, this kind of imposter. It sounds like it's a bizarre mix of horror and heartbreak, second chances. I think it's going to creep me out a little bit. I think this has got potential to be like a modern horror classic, and also really like the cover as well on this one. All right, so now let's talk about the big boy, the one that I've been excited about telling you about this whole time, and I'm going to present this in stages, I think. This is the first stage. Yeah, look at that. The Eye of Sauron. So this is the complete trilogy of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And yeah, it comes in this lovely little folder. Look, you slide it out. Oh, wow. And then have a look at this beautiful thing. Also, you've got the gilded edges. This is just stunning, man. Look at that. That's like a mirror. Like you can see your reflection in this. Look at that. Unbelievable. And then inside, you've got, so look, I'll show you if I open it inside. By the way, this is the most beautiful book that I own. Inside, you've got a full map of Middle Earth. Very nice. Because there's a lot of traveling. I don't know if you're familiar with the story. There's a little bit of a journey that they go on. And so I think it's just nice to have a map to refer to. And you've got the King's Letter. I won't give any spoilers just in case you haven't seen the movies or read the books or anything. But this is a letter that features in the story. A lot of people are going to look at this stuff and go, God, that's a bit nerdy, ain't it? Welcome to the channel. Yeah. This is like Nerd HQ. This is where we all knock about. Oh, and another map. The map of Gondor, Rohan, Mordor. And there's little illustrations inside. Let me try and find another illustration for you. Rivendell. This is just like, this is more than just a book. This is like a prized possession to me. It's definitely not like a regular birthday gift. It's a bit excessive, I would say, of a gift. But for a 40th, just to mark the passage of time with something that I really love, I think this is a wonderful gift. I feel very lucky to have this. I will admit, though, let me just put it in correctly. I will admit that once I'd received this and I put it on the shelf and I thought, oh, that looks fantastic. I thought to myself, do you know what will make it look even better? The Hobbit. Yeah. I read The Hobbit earlier this year. So yeah, I did go ahead and purchase the companion edition of The Hobbit. I purchased this myself. And so you see, similar kind of deal, right? The cover. This is like a separate thing. It's the history of The Hobbit. And so the thing about The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that kind of thing, there's just a lot of lore to really dig into. I think that is the joy that a lot of fans of The Lord of the Rings get out of it, is kind of digging into the history and the lore of the world. That's a beautiful thing, ain't it? Again, you've got the gilded edges. And this one is also illustrated as well. So yeah, that's what they look like together. So I thought they looked really good on the shelves, and I also got these to place either side. Like I say, it's proper nerdy, man, but I enjoy it, you know, it's my bloody birthday. So yeah, got these as well to put either side of the book. So I think it looks really good on the shelf. These are the Pillars of Kings, also known as the Gates of Argonath. And so, yeah, I'm going to place these either side of them. I think it looks really good. So, yeah, that's everything that I received from our 40th. Very lucky boy. And now I'm going to tell you what I spent my gift cards on that I received from work. Again, very lucky boy. Like at work, they said to me, well, Jay, you've been here for 5 years. I work in America. You've been here for 5 years. And so we'd love to reward that. And they gave me like an option, like a little catalog of things that I could go through, and they were like, do you want a vacuum cleaner? You want some silverware? And you know, like all this stuff. And I just said, you got any books? Anything where I can get some books? And then they said, well, you can get a gift card. for Barnes and Noble. And I went, oh, perfect, perfect. So yeah, I'm going to tell you what I bought at Barnes and Noble. I like that bag, by the way. Pretty nice tote bag. I'm not really a tote bag sort of a geezer, but if I was, I'd carry that about. But anyway, I'm going to tell you what I purchased at Barnes and Noble. But just before I do that, I'd like to thank all of my Patreon members for supporting the channel. A big thank you to the cult members. A massive thank you to the named men. And an extra special thank you to the quartet. All of you make this channel possible, and I'm so glad that we get to build this reading community together. Seriously, thanks so much for being a part of it. If you like this channel and you'd like to support it and also get some perks like the Metallic Paperback Journeys bookmark, access to some of the exclusive rooms on the Discord server, and also access to the PBJ Book Club, then you can click on the link in the description below. All right, so let's talk about what I bought at Barnes & Noble today. I got The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, and this is set in Britain after the fall of King Arthur. The story follows an elderly couple, I believe the name are Axel and Beatrice, and they decide to travel across the countryside to visit their son, though neither of them can clearly remember who he is or why they became separated. And the reason that they can't remember all of that is that the land is now covered in this mysterious mist that's caused like widespread memory loss for the entire country. And so it's left entire communities unable to recall their own history. And as the couple journey together through this altered landscape, they're joined by a collection of characters who are on their own journeys as well to recover their own memories. So it sounds really interesting and totally different to anything else that I've ever read from Ishiguro. I would say usually he likes to write and focus on depressing speculative sci-fi, which I love. I do love that, but I just didn't know that he also wrote fantasy as well. So yeah, I'd really like to read this one. Another book that I just bought is Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. So Fledgling is about a girl who seems young and again has no memory of who she is. So, but both of these books concern a loss of memory, and but she begins to notice that she has unusual instincts and kind of inhuman capabilities. And she uncovers the truth that actually she's not a young girl. She is a 53-year-old vampire, and she's been genetically engineered and stripped of her past. She starts to like piece together the mystery of her past and the people who put her in the situation that also seem to want her dead. And her survival depends on figuring out who is behind this as she tries to reclaim control over her memories. A book that I've wanted to read for a long time, but I never got a copy of it, is Carrion Comfort by Dan Simmons. Ooh, spooky looking. So this book is set during World War II, and Saul Lasky is imprisoned in an extermination camp, and he's marked for death under the German regime. But what he encounters there isn't just human cruelty. He actually comes into contact with something older and stranger than just a occupying force. He has a strange experience whilst in these extermination camps. And so now, in the more modern day, he feels driven by a need to understand what he faced back then. And he starts to uncover the existence of a secret group of people with the power to control others using just their mind. So they don't actually commit any violent acts themselves directly, but instead they manipulate others into doing the violent acts for them by like inhabiting their thoughts and feeding off of their emotions and pushing them towards these horrific acts. And these individuals have quietly shaped some of the most brutal events in history. And so he starts to uncover this mysterious group of people. Another book that I've really been encouraged to read. A lot of you have told me that I need to read this book. It's Needful Things by Stephen King. So yeah, another Stephen King book, one of his better known books that I haven't read. This one comes up over and over and over again in the comments section. What, you haven't read Needful Things? You need to read Needful Things. Can't call yourself a Stephen King fan unless you've read Needful Things. All right, all right. So this is about a man named Leland Gaunt who sets up this new store in town. It's in Castle Rock. So Castle Rock is a town that's a recurring location through a lot of Stephen King books. And the new store is called Needful Things. The weird thing about this little shop is that it seems to have exactly what each customer has always wanted, whether it's like a rare collectible or something that has special healing powers for like a pain that they're feeling. And the price is very low, but there's a catch. So Leland Gaunt asks each buyer to just carry out a little prank on someone else in town. And at first, these little pranks seem harmless, but they start to build on each other, and it stirs up these old tensions, pushing all these neighbors into a conflict. And so as things start to spiral out of control, the local sheriff starts to realize that Gaunt might be behind all of this. He might be manipulating the town for his own reasons. And so he starts to uncover why that might be. It's a little bit of a chonker. Like, look at that. That's like a classic Stephen King chonker. The next book I purchased, by the way, I love that, don't you? I really love the smell when you walk into a bookstore. New book smell. So yeah, this book is The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. So this is about a trained thief who owes a lot of money to a group called the Takers Guild. It's the group that taught him everything that he knows about thieving, from pickpocketing to knife fighting. And so yeah, he owes them a lot of money. And to pay off his debts, he sets up on a forest road where he's going to intercept anyone going past this road, but he ends up targeting the wrong person, and he barely survives. He barely escapes with his life, but then he ends up joining this person who has special abilities along the road and along their own journey. I read Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman with the PBJ Book Club, and I really liked it. And so hopefully I'll love this one just as much. I think the general consensus is that people prefer this to Between Two Fires. We'll see. So another book that I purchased is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. This book follows a man who sees himself as deeply disconnected from the world. From a young age, he doesn't understand how to be around other people, and so he starts performing for them and sort of like cover up his own personal discomfort. And over time, he keeps just trying to find ways to fit in. Through school and through relationships, and then later on in life through his workplace, but nothing seems to be working out. And eventually he reaches a point where he attempts suicide. I think this book is told really plainly, I think without self-pity. He goes through all these different moments of cruelty and confusion, and then brief flashes of connection where it seems like he might have cracked it, and actually he is making a connection with someone. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe that was a bit of a false flag. I thought I had a connection, but really it was just all make-believe. So yeah, this is just basically the story of one man who feels like an outsider in every area of life. I already said that the comment section didn't seem that excited about the prospects of me reading this book. Some people said it was the worst book they'd ever read. But then I've heard others say, like other booktubers and other people that have read this book, say that it was deeply moving and unlike anything else they've ever read. So when I hear opinions that are that split, like polar opposites to one another, it does make me even more curious to read it to see what side of the fence I'm going to fall on. All right, got a handful more books to go. So the next one is Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. This is set in the 1870s where the main character, Will Andrews, leaves Harvard and he heads west, chasing a deeper connection with nature. He's trying to escape the kind of urban or suburban landscape that he's been raised in. And he ends up in this rough Kansas town called Butcher's Crossing. And here he gets pulled into a buffalo hunting expedition deep in the Colorado Rockies. I love it when books are set in the Rockies. I don't know what it is. Whenever they're set in the Rockies, I've got to go to the Rockies, man. So yeah, the trip that he goes on with these buffalo hunters is harsh, but the valley that they reach is full of game. And what starts off as this hunt turns into this obsessive, brutal killing spree. And all of the people that are involved in this lose track of time. They get trapped in the snow. They barely survive the winter. And when they finally return, this isn't a spoiler. This is all on the back of the book, right? So I'm not spoiling anything. But when they finally return, everything, both the town and the men themselves, they feel different and broken in ways that they didn't really predict. Let me ask you a question. Do I get too excited when I talk about books? Because I feel like I get carried away. I can't help it. I can't. I see some people on BookTube and they're real chill, and they're just kind of like, oh, yeah, I like this book because this and that, and they've just got a really chill, nice, cozy vibe to them. I can't do it. I can't do it. I start talking about it and my mouth is trying to keep up with my mind. I'm just like, anyway. I can't change it. But another book which is from the same New York Review of Books. It's from the same publisher. Hard Rain Falling by Don Carpenter. So this definitely sounds more like a character-driven story than a plot-driven story. It's about this guy called Jack Levitt, who is this like street smart orphan in the 1950s Portland. And it's also about his friend Billy Lansing, who is a runaway and a bit of a pool shark, he's a little bit of a hustler, and their lives, they begin as friends, but then their lives take different paths, with Jack that's cycling through prison systems, and then you've got Billy, who is building a life that he wants to make work, he wants to go straight, but it doesn't feel right. It feels uncomfortable, kind of like a suit that doesn't fit, you're like, oh, this ain't me. And both men are drawn back together, and their pasts kind of catch up with them. I'm interested in Hard Rain Falling because I like stories that really take their time with difficult characters and show how complicated their lives are without trying to like simplify things or tidy things up, And then the next few books, I'm just going to do these all as one thing because it's a trilogy. It's the Lycanius trilogy by James Islington. So this is an epic fantasy series that, as far as I understand, is packed with, I think there's some time travel, some moral dilemmas, some ancient secrets. It's got really dense world building, hopefully some plot twists. And again, it's written by James Islington, who's really just become a huge, massive name in the fantasy genre. I've got a little bit of a confession to make when it comes to this trilogy. I bought this trilogy. I'm a massive fantasy fan, right? I love fantasy books, but when I saw this cover, I mean, that is beautiful, man. That is so beautiful. They all are. They all are. I'm into this kind of like minimalist, but with a little splash of color. If you do that in a front cover of a book, I'm gonna be into it. And I feel like Black Tongue Thief kind of does that as well. It's like all monochromatic and then just a little bit of yellow. I love I really like it. So yeah, that's all of the books that I've added to my collection recently. Now, I just need to find a place to put them on my shelves. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see something similar, where I went to the local library sale and I picked up some bangers. By the way, library sales are it, man. Like, I I love them. I love them. And if you'd like to see me go to a library sale, you can click on that video that I made about it up there. I do a little bit of a skit in that video and put on a wig if you're into that sort of thing. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, happy reading.